Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at a little controversy thing that Agurin has recently, where he went AFK in a game with a guy that's known for playing white top, and basically he's like blaming him because, oh well, he's kind of blaming him because he is basically playing this white top, this whatever pick, right? Ignite white top with fleet and then support item, and just running around the map and doing some stuff. So I want to really talk about how these, let's say, picks change up the way that the game works, why these picks can sometimes work and sometimes like not really, and some similar ideas which could be beneficial even if you don't play one of these picks and rather just want to understand drafting in the game or want to understand the idea in the game more in depth, let's say. So yeah. So here we have the outline drafts, right? And what you will notice very quickly is that we have some small issues, right? Okay. This is also mentioned by Nemesis in this video specifically. And the problem is this champion needs gold, this champion needs gold, this champion provides gold, this champion just provides utility, and this champion provides utility, let's say, right? Okay. Then what is the opposite team like? So this champion, this champion would like gold. This champion would like resources into snowball. This champion would like resources into snowball. This champion would like resource into snowball, and this champion provides utility, but this champion also is somewhat utility. This one is somewhat utility. This one is just going to be like a more consistent type of pick that, when allowed, is going to snowball. When not allowed, is going to play pretty, let's say, safe. Okay. So then, let's really think about what we can do as each champion in these drafts, right? Starting from the support role. If we are Pike, then okay, how can we play a 2v2 in lane? Well, if we end up finding an early hook, it could be pretty good with Kai'Sa. But if a few levels pass, right, then what's really going to happen? If Leona gets hooked or comboed or whatever, she's probably not going to die. She presses W, she walks away, and she might lose a lot of HP, but she's going to be fine. Ezreal, he'll probably E our hooks, unless we open somehow with E, but then it's still going to be pretty difficult to really find anything. So then, realistically, we either need people to come into our lane and need to set up some kind of pressure where we would try to achieve some kind of a desired result, or we want to move into different lanes. Now, this is where the issues start, right? If we look at the ADCs, the Kai'Sa wants to like scale a bit because later on she will be pretty good into Ezreal because she can actually get onto him. As with her mark, she's not allowed to ult onto him, go invis, whatever, DPS, while Ezreal is more reliant, let's say, on doing well early in this kind of matchup, right? So this is still all fine and dandy for us, but then we start having issues. So Malphite into Tryndamere would be, let's say, some kind of a pick, right? You think, okay, well, Malphite can get a lot of armor, so he can get pretty tanky, so he can kind of stonewall the Tryndamere in a way, though the Tryndamere should be able to push a decent amount. He shouldn't really be dying to Malphite. He should maybe take some plates or something, or look for invades or something if he can, right? So we don't really have any kind of pressure here. The Malphite doesn't really want to be played for either. He mostly just wants to enable other people. So maybe enable the Zyra or Pike with Kai'Sa or something to kill the Tryndamere. Maybe enable some kind of a, let's say a fight idea where these people can kite away from the enemy and then he can peel them. He can also enable some kind of an idea where he tries to set up like a gank on these people and tries to set them up for a fight. And then we have Zyra, and she wants resources, so her idea is, I want to full clear, right? I'm going to be chilling full clearing. This guy's idea is also I'm going to be full clearing. Try to get as much as possible. And basically just boost your economy that way. But in the top lane, we have the problem of, okay, so we have a Renekton, and what is his purpose now? Well, he's not really doing like anything really. He's just going to clear the waves and push the tower. And this is already fine for him because he wanted to use his early game power to, let's say, snowball, right? To get some kind of a lead. And a lead he's getting. So he's going to be a pretty stat-checky champion, right? So basically we're playing into the enemy top lane right now. And what is the purpose of Bard? Well, the purpose of these strategies, like roaming Bard, roaming Janna, roaming whatever, right, is generally to enable your teammates and to do something for them, right? Okay, so if that is the case, who can we realistically enable in this team? Okay, so maybe we can protect the Zyra from invades. But if, say, a Tryndamere comes with a brand, or a Renekton comes with a brand into us, we're not really doing much. Because the problem is that Zyra is going to provide her own utility, right? So she's going to slow with plants, she's going to root, she's going to do a decent amount of DPS, she's going to knock up later on, right? So what does Bard really provide? She's not like some kind of a, let's say, a Nidalee that needs CC to be set up to hit her spear. She is not going to be, I don't know, like it's like a, let's say like a Cortez as well, that needs to hit like multiple Qs or something, right? She's not going to also be Viego that wants to like get onto the enemy or get around the map or something. Like, she really does not care about any of that, or skirmishing or something. She just wants to clear her camps. So this is not really a champion or a player that Bard is going to be able to assist. Okay, so then what's the next thing? Malphite. Okay, well, what can we do for Malphite? We walk into mid lane, into the Tryndamere. The Tryndamere probably has Doran's Shield, Second Wind, maybe even Fleet. I don't know. Does he have Fleet? I mean, I can check it. He does not have Fleet. He has PTA, and he didn't go Doran's Shield. He went Doran's Blade. The issue with the draft stays the same, where he could go these things, but he opts not to. That's fine. So then, okay, if we go mid lane and we poke him a bit, maybe that does something. But is it really going to bring him into lethal of Malphite? Debatable, right? On top of that, is he going to be able to somehow then highly impact the game? Let's say that Malphite gets 3 kills and he is pretty farmed. That doesn't really change much. This guy's not dying to him. This guy's not dying to him. This guy is going to be very hard to hit as well for Malphite, but this guy will not be able to kill the Malphite. That is good. But this guy will definitely be able to kill the Malphite. So Malphite isn't really looking like the champ that is going to carry this game for us either. Okay, so then what else? Can we play for, let's say, the Pyke? Nothing to really do with this because we're both just set up, and if we just play together, like, no one has damage. So then we need to play together, but we need to enable someone. Okay, we could like maybe enable the Zyra, and we could play with him, but that's gonna take a few levels, because if we're trying to enable the Zyra at, say, level 3 or level 4 or something, what do we have? We have a Pikey, we have a Pyke hook, we have a Bard Q, and we have Zyra plants. That's about it, right? Like, Zyra would like to have her ult, Pyke would like to have his ult, preferably Bard would not ult when they try to do something, so this is a problem as well. So then the only option that remains here is to play for Kai'Sa. Okay, now if we can somehow enable the Kai'Sa, maybe. But the problem that arises instantly is that Kai'Sa Pyke should already be, let's say, stronger in a lot of cases if they start in lane than Ezreal Leona at level 1, because Leona can't really get on them. Maybe she can start E, then Ezreal is strong level 1, and then maybe they can do something, but it seems pretty unlikely so. If the Pyke chooses to hook her in, maybe as well, right? But if Ezreal gets hooked in or something, then that could be like disastrous for them, so generally would probably look for a level 2 type of deal, right? That's going to be a decent amount safer for you. But then, okay, so let's say that the bot lane goes normally, right? And the bot lanes are like even or something. Okay, so then we need the board to come bot, and we need him to get Kai'Sa the kills. And with those kills, Kai'Sa's going to need to now carry the game. But we run into another issue. Our comp is not able to really answer split pushing. Our comp is going to be fine in team fights, but at the same time, we also have issues because, first of all, Renekton is going to be pretty chill, right? So he's going to set up pretty easy skill shots for Ezreal and Brand. And okay, as Kai'Sa now we need to avoid that. We need to avoid the Renekton. Okay, we also need to avoid the Leona, because the Leona can change the CS. Okay, then we need to avoid getting comboed by Brand, because if we get comboed by Brand, our whole HP bar is gone. Then we need to avoid the Tryndamere. The Tryndamere is going to try to go on us, he's going to ult, and it's going to be a problem. Okay, we have a decent amount of peel, so we have Zyra to peel, we have Malphite to peel, we have, let's say, Pyke he can try to peel, we have Bard he can try to peel. But you see how this is a very obvious draft where all of these players are getting to play the game, and all of them have some kind of thing they can do. And here it's just, okay guys, we need to set up the Kai'Sa, and then everyone else needs to support her. And that's the only way we can play, basically. Provided that some truly weird things don't start happening on the map. I don't know, like Zyra getting 50 kills or something, randomly. I say randomly, it's not exactly random, but, you know, it shouldn't really be happening. So then, okay, what else is an issue? An issue also is if we now, let's say we clear this up, and we now try to move the Renekton into a side lane, we try to move the Tryndamere into a side lane, and then say that we put these guys like here somewhere, let's say that we put this guy like, I don't know, whatever, and then what? This is what we're playing. And how are we winning with this? So one side of the map is getting pushed. The Malphite is not actually an answer to either of these guys, because this guy is overfed from just getting free plates and stuff, and this guy just doesn't care about him because he heals and ults. So if the Malphite goes some damage, he will ult, this guy will ult, and he will kill him. Same thing here. And if the Malphite is actually building to survive it, then he will get ignored, and this guy will take the tower or the camps or whatever. And that's a massive problem, because how are we supposed to force them to permafight us? Let's say that the enemy team just gives a dragon or a baron or something, right? Like, whatever. Like, maybe they give stuff. Maybe. I don't see why they would give stuff, because they should even be able to get vision and stuff and be okay. And if these people really try to take anything, they should lose, like, honestly, probably inhibs easily, right? Because they need to 4-man to actually force stuff, which sucks. So then, even if they get dragon and baron, they get both, right? Okay, well, you lost all of your inhibs. You're not taking anything now. Okay, you're getting farm. Cool. Your Kai'Sa's getting items. Your Zyra is completely becoming just a support. Literal support. Your Pyke is a support. Your Bard is a support. And your Malphite is a support. You have 4 supports in your team, and 1 guy that can actually do something. But he needs to be enabled. But then, do you think it's hard for these people to find an angle on Kai'Sa? Really? It's that difficult? Like, it's impossible? And they don't even need to kill her. They don't need to kill her. They don't need to chunk her. They don't need to even, like, do anything to her. All they need to do is just threaten that they will do something to her, and then just force her to play in a way where she can't DPS enough. And then they just kill the 4 supports. And when the 4 supports are down, Kai'Sa can't play the game. Because all she has in her team are supports, and the enemy team doesn't care. So that's a big issue, right? instantly. So then, what is the point of these kinds of picks? You might think that they're just always inherently bad, and that wouldn't really be true, and it wouldn't be fair. Why would these people climb if these picks were inherently always bad and always useless? So that wouldn't make sense. But then, what do we have to do to actually make these picks, let's say, useful, right? Surely we can do something. So then, let's say that we have a very different comp. Let's say we have something like, I don't want to do something too crazy, but let's just say we have some useful stuff. Like, let's say we have Tristana that wants gold. Pretty meta pick. Could be banned, could not be banned. You never know. Who knows? Probably banned. Could be another champ though as well. Then let's put another AP jungler. Let's put like a... Oh, like let's put like a Nilly. That champ is pretty meta as well currently. Then let's put a champ in the bot lane. The AD carry role. Let's put like Xayah. Okay, sure. It's a bit unfortunate to be playing it into poking type AD carry, but it's okay. Then let's put a support that wants more assistance. Or we can just put a support that also enables people. Let's see. Let's put something like let's put like a Renata here. So we don't want to make the comp too crazy. Alright. So now this guy will have stuff to play with, technically. If he goes mid, there will actually be damage to follow up and to try to do something, right? And if he actually manages to push mid wave with the Tristana and actually chunk out the Tryndamere, this tower will be for their taking. And Tristana loves gold. If he goes bot lane, there's also going to be stuff to work with. What these people are lacking right now is a way to really go in because they're very defensive. These people have 3 melee champs, so the Renata can have value at some point, but the Renata is going to have a harder time dealing with Ezreal and Brand, right? At the same time, Xayah is going to have a harder time dealing with these 2 champions. So then what Brand, or what Bard can offer us is he can ult these people, he can Q them, he can portal us towards them or away from them, and so on, and we can work with that. Same thing with Nilly. Sure, this guy will have prio, but since this guy is willing to drop all of his waves, that means that now this Nilly will likely be able to do something like take a camp or something, and then look to maybe go for level 3 or already start playing with the Bard and completely try to ruin this guy's game, right? Snowball that way. And then if they can actually isolate this map like this and make sure that everything below here is very unplayable for the enemy team, while everything here is going to be very unplayable for the ally team, that's going to be perfectly fine for them, or reasonable rather. And then later on, even if the Renekton is somewhat fed from this stuff, the Xayah will be able to deal with it, the Tristana will somewhat be able to deal with it, this guy will somewhat be able to deal with this stuff, and he's also providing something. So in this case, the Bard fits into the comp somewhat more. The problem that this comp has is that they are 5 range champions, and I intentionally didn't want to make this comp too perfect, because then it would be an unrealistic scenario where you somehow have a comp where you're just answering everything the enemy does, but the enemy isn't really answering everything you're doing, right? So I wanted to still give leeway to the enemy team. So the enemy team also has stuff they can do, but in this case, the pick somehow makes sense. And the reason that people really dislike these kinds of picks is largely because of the way that they shape the game. So the problem with these picks ends up being very quickly that, much like a lot of other off-meta type picks, they shape the game around themselves. So you would imagine that the game of League of Legends would go something like this, where this guy would clear somehow and end up like somewhere, and this guy would clear somehow and end up like somewhere. Probably, honestly. Opposite even. And you would have something going on. Especially if you swap this Renekton and the board and, I don't know, you make the board some weak lane or something. You would then imagine that it would end up being something like this. Either way, really. Whatever the junglers decide to do, that's up to them. Honestly, a more likely scenario would be for this guy to somehow vertical here and this guy to do it here, where he is probably stronger, but whatever they choose to do, really. The lanes should be something like this, right? And then what you're then playing for is, okay, I want to get my waves, I want to play on my recall timings, I want to play in a way that's, well, in a way that makes sense in terms of laning fundamentals, and then somehow transition that into a strong mid game. Now what we're changing here is that one lane is completely collapsing. A lane is by default collapsing, but then it's much more likely that in the bot side of the map, we will have control over jungles, we will have an ahead mid laner, and we will have an ahead bot lane. And these lanes are probably going to be, they're probably going to be given like half the lead of the Renekton or something. Or maybe less, maybe more, whatever, right? And then it kind of depends on how much sense the actual champions make together in terms of the stuff that I talked about, where do these champions actually benefit from this? Do these champions actually want these things? Are these champions actually willing to receive gold and impact and so on, right? There are a lot of these strategies that people end up trying to do to climb in a way where it ends up being a case of, is my team actually willing to receive what I'm trying to give them? And the problem with these strategies is that some of them are going to be more self-sufficient, while others are going to be more team-oriented. A strategy like this one, or a strategy like Janna top, a strategy like Shaco top, a strategy like support starting in top lane level 1 and not playing bot lane, are going to be more oriented towards funneling resources into people that did not agree on it. So then, you're funneling your resources, the whole resources of the team, and all of the early pressure and so on, into the bot side of the map. And you are deciding to do that on your own. Your team does not have a say in it. You just decide, I will do this, and you do it. In the opposite light, let's say, we have these ideas where top laners will play purely for themselves. Say something like a Nasus stacking for a while and then split pushing. Say something like inting science strategy, right? This kind of a thing. So then you are taking all of the, let's say, pressure on the map and you are putting it on this lane, right? So then you're saying, okay, well, the game will be decided on top side or the game will be decided on bot side. A similar thing that can be done is bot laners coin flip fighting early game, right? Or, well, that's what people like to call it. So then, if you're coin flip fighting early game, what you're realistically doing is you're making the game a lot more bot lane centric. So you're saying you either play bot lane or you won't have an impact on the game, most likely, because we will decide a majority of this game's factors in the bottom lane. Similarly, these people do that with top lane and so on, right? And what you're really doing is you're funneling agency into one side of the map. In this case, you're refusing to even play the other side of the map, so all 5 of your players are trying to do something here. And alternatively, what could also happen is the enemy team could try to do something similar and say, what they could do is they could swap their bot lane, put the top laner in, let's say, they could just all go topside if they want, right? And what does that really achieve here, right? That's the question at that point. Or they could swap their bot lane with a top laner or something like that. And then the game becomes really questionable because then it comes outside of the things that people have learned and outside of the basic fundamentals. And while it's not completely devoid of fundamentals, it changes a lot of factors which are going to be quite important at the higher levels of play. And something like the sport thing then is going to be, let's say, it's going to have a big question mark on its forehead. Especially because what you really have to do here, your goal, right, as the enemy team is, I want my bot lane to survive as long as possible. I want to make sure that my bot and mid are not too far behind. Then I just can swap my overfed top laner that has free farm and hit the tower for free, just taking a free tower, into bot lane, and then we can just play with him. We can put our ADC in top lane, and who can really answer him? What? Is the enemy team going to send their ADC into top lane? Well, that doesn't sound like a good idea. Because the whole point of this strategy was you're gonna push this, you're gonna push this, right? If this is already taken, then Renekton goes here, and let's say that Leona just adapts, right? Like maybe she goes up bot lane, maybe she goes top lane. Then if you're sending Xayah and Renata into top lane, well, okay, they can take this, sure. And your Renekton's taking this. So now you have 2 towers for 1. So basically just gambited the map away. Or what? Okay, there's mid lane still. Okay, sure. But now you lost 2 towers. And the enemy has only really lost 1. Maybe they lost a few plates on this, but realistically now, the enemy has the option of split pushing into the second towers. The enemy also has the option of rotating in. Now, where do you put who? Because even in this case, where we have a draft that's more equipped to deal with this kind of thing, okay, well, if I put my Tristana here, and I put my guys here, is the Tristana really going to deal with the overfed Renekton? Probably not. She's probably going to get pushed in, because that guy is quite fed. So then, what do we do now? Well, this guy is then going to play to do something here. And if we suddenly decide to play something like this, and then we also rotate this guy in, we're in a pickle. We're in a big pickle, right? Whether that be from losing jungle camps, that be from losing towers, that be from, I don't know, just giving up waves or so. It's going to be a massive issue. And these kinds of things are really the problem. With different kinds of playstyles, with different kinds of, let's say, ideas and stuff, you're going to be able to change the impact that different people can have on the game. And you're basically able to decide, okay, I'm either full griefing the game and going to make it unwinnable for my team, or I'm going to make it a free win. And a similar thing happens here, if you watch this. So, what happens is, level 1, the players, the mid lane and the top lane are like not exactly too into playing the game. My apologies, I have to look at this actually. Here. So level 1, these players, Malphite is defending tower, Bard is defending some random shit. And okay, so we get into this situation. Not a good situation to be in. Then we try to see if we can steal the red buff, because if we could steal the red buff, it could be like a pretty big impact. But this guy just barely got it. And here, if we were somehow able to get vision here, we would be able to do something. You see how our Bard has a vision ward, right? What happens with the ward? Oh, he decides to ward in that bush. And since the Bard doesn't have a ward now, even though we've already committed to walking here and we really want to steal this, there's no way to get vision in the bush. If the bush could actually be warded by the Bard, then it could actually be a situation where we might be able to, I don't know, flash smite or something, I don't know. And if we can flash smite, it might seem troll, but I mean, we get level 2, and we should be able to do something at least. Alternatively, we could also like Q the buff. It seems like it might have been possible to take or something. I don't know. But then, okay, so he trades kill, where he kills the brand, but then he dies to the enemy laners, and is losing waves. So then, now we're feeding the enemy mid lane. We gave a pseudo lead to the enemy jungler. We're feeding the enemy top lane, so basically top side of the map is already rip. So now all we have to work with is bot lane. And it seems that bot lane lost. As you can see, right here, if we look at this, the Malphite got solo killed actually by Tryndamere. I forgot about this. I wish I could keep it forgotten. And then it seems that our bot lane also died or something like that. That's what it looks like. Then, okay, so basically we're losing the bot lane, we're losing the mid lane, we're losing top lane, we're losing jungle. So we're losing in 5 roles now. And our protagonist, Agurin, has really not done anything wrong, right? So he doesn't have much of an impact. He doesn't have agency. Our Malphite does have some agency, but he doesn't have a lot of agency. Our Malphite has the opposite kind of agency. Our Malphite decided to be an agency sponge. He decided, I need to be a protagonist, I need to take agency for myself, and then he ran down the game. Our top laner is kind of doing the same, right? And people hate playing with these kinds of strategies and these kinds of players because of that. Because you are being an agency sponge. You are not letting your team actually have an impact on the game, and you're not letting your team actually play the game. And this is fine in low elo, in a way. It's not really ideal, it's not really a nice thing to do, but it can help you win a lot of games in low elo, because you don't really want to be nice to your teammates in low elo, you just want to try to make it as winnable as possible and have as much impact yourself as possible. But once you get to higher levels of play, this just does not fly, because 5 people having impact and 5 people doing well is just always going to outperform one person having all the impact in a team. And that's just the way team games go. If a team game does not work like that, then there's a problem. Because then, why are you even playing? If all the impact is in the jungler, then why not play jungle? If all the impact is in the top laner, why not play top lane? And so on. It's just pointless. He also talks about how these people get the gold, and yeah, that's another issue. Then also Agurin can't really do much, another issue. And really, you can see he's trying. He didn't really do much. That would be bad. But the problem is, why is enemy support allowed to deny us camps? And enemy top laner? While the enemy jungler isn't even here. Enemy jungler is doing a neutral objective. So it's pointless to play. It's simply pointless. You can AFK, or you can sit in a bush and you can pretend you're playing, even though you can't actually play, because you can't enter your jungle, because you have no vision, no priority, nothing to work with, and no purpose. And this, I hope, gives you some insight into why the higher elo players are usually going to look at this kind of thing and say that the game is lost and there is no point playing it, while the lower elo players might think, well, there's some miracle comeback or something. But what you have to understand is that for a comeback, 1, your comp should make some sense, 2, you should have some kind of CC, 3, you should have some kind of burst, because these things are going to be very good for coming back. Trapping in a bush. You would like to CC the enemy so they can't run away, can't flash away, can't dash away, can't shield themselves, and so on. Burst. I want to kill the enemy fast before the enemy team is able to show up. Okay. Very simple. Our comp making sense means I want to be able to answer the split push, or I want to be able to group up, or I want to be able to contest objectives. I want to be able to do something. What can we do here? Nothing. And that's really the issue that people did not really seem to understand. And I hope that gives you enough of an insight for now. Maybe I'll try to go more in depth on agency and stuff like that in the future, but I think this should be enough for now about this. If you enjoyed the video, then, I don't know, like, I guess. If you didn't, dislike. And if you have some suggestions for what you'd like to see, then comment that below. Anyway, thanks for watching and bye-bye.